Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for our Emergency Readiness Lunch and Learn event today. This is hosted by FOCA, the Federation of Ontario Cottagers Associations, and is sponsored by our partners at Action First Aid, empowering people to take action. Next slide, please. We start this meeting by recognizing and thanking the traditional stewards of the lands and waterways where we all live and work. The waterfront lands of Ontario are the traditional territories of many diverse Indigenous peoples who recognize the sacredness of water, the interconnectedness of all life, and the importance of protecting land and water for the generations to come. We are all on a journey toward truth and reconciliation, and we offer this recognition as an important step on that journey. We're joining this virtual meeting from different locations, and so I encourage each of you to dedicate yourselves to move forward in a spirit of respect, reciprocity, and sharing that learning. We're glad you can join us today. My name is Michelle Lewin, and I am FOCA's Manager of Communications and Development. And I am being assisted behind the scenes both by Deanna Forgy, FOCA's Programs Coordinator, and by Christine Drury of Action First Aid. She is their Senior Account Manager and the person you will likely talk with if you're looking into AEDs. We will have our guest speaker, Deb Henning, join us for the main part of the day. But first, a couple of technical notes. If you have any technical difficulties, the best advice is really exit the Zoom window completely, come on back in using the link you were sent originally. You are muted and you can submit your comments or questions through the chat feature of Zoom, which you'll find if you mouse over the screen, or you may need to tap if you're on an iDevice. Just an insider tip, you may be able to adjust the view if you have slides to the side and a head beside it. You may be able to click and drag a sort of invisible line that will change the scale of those two pieces for you. And this is being recorded, and you will receive a link to both the slides and the recording in a follow-up email. And please do share this resource with others after the event. So onwards we go. Briefly, as we're having this as a public event, some of you may not be very familiar with FOCA. FOCA is the Federation of Ontario Cottagers Associations, and we are a not-for-profit membership organization that represents waterfront property owners. We've got over 550 member associations, and that's 50,000 families across the province. And if you are in a FOCA member association, welcome. You get access to special discounts and benefits and offers. And if you're not part of FOCA, we hope you'll learn a little bit about the value of it and join us. So we're the only go-to provincial advocacy organization committed to sustaining and enhancing the Ontario cottage experience for generations. Primarily, we serve local lake and road associations to ensure that they're thriving. We work collaboratively to identify and address key issues, provide credible expertise, programs, and services, and we're at the hub of a vibrant network of partners. We are the voice of waterfront to government and to science and research partners. Our member associations receive support on best practices and governance and discounts on liability insurance through the FOCA insurance program. That actually includes a legal helpline for your association's questions. And all member families of our member associations access benefits and offers from our sponsors and partners. And of course, that includes Action First Aid and others like Cottage Life Magazine, Park and Fly, Rogers, and quite a lot. And if you're on your association's executive, we do remind you to circulate the member benefits information to each of your member families at your own events this season. You can download copies from our benefits webpage. There's a version with the access codes that you can give to your paid members and a version without that you could probably use for a local membership drive to get some more members. We want to make it easy for you at your AGM this year to get approval from your membership to keep supporting FOCA with your membership dollars. If you're showing value and leveraging your FOCA member benefits, you've got a lot to offer. FOCA communicates and educates about water quality, invasive species, healthy shorelines, and so very much more. Please share our resources in your own local newsletters. Together, we can ensure that associations remain strong and Ontario's lake communities remain healthy and vibrant and resilient for generations to come. Our print and video publications cover a huge range of topics, from septic systems to wake impacts, identifying and managing underwater plants, rural road issues, short-term rental, invasive species. I could go on and on. But we do encourage you to welcome new property owners to your area by repurposing FOCA's welcome sheet template. It will give you some tips about living in a rural waterfront setting and how to get new folks into the know. And we've got a number of ongoing programs to prevent the spread of invasive species or manage them after their arrival. And our longstanding Lake Partner program of water quality monitoring is the largest of its kind as a volunteer effort. So thank you for all the 600 plus volunteers who are helping us with this work. As we speak, the season has begun. FOCA also has information on important aspects of waterfront property ownership, and whether that's rural services, cottage succession planning, or emergency preparedness in rural areas, which of course is what has brought us here today. And so with that, we will stop sharing our slides, and I will invite Deb to turn on her video and unmute herself, and to begin the process of sharing her slides with audio, which is always the fun part.
Okay. All right, Michelle, can you hear me now?
I sure can. That's great.
Okay. And then we will, and I've got somebody helping me with technical support too.
Excellent.
So let's see here. So Taylor, you can come on over here and we'll share window.
If you just want to start with this
Yeah.
slideshow, so Chrome tab.
Okay. And then here. Okay.
Just maybe just go back to the meeting and double check that your audio didn't get turned off.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Audio's good.
Super.
Okay. And I'd love to put this, Taylor, can I make this smaller, do you think? Or just exit that?
Can you drag it?
Okay. You know what? Maybe that's okay. There we go. I'll just make that smaller. Okay.
And while Deb's getting set up, I will just mention you're welcome to pop your questions into the chat at any time, and we will try to save some time at the end to address those questions.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, hello, everybody. I wish I could see everybody's faces. It never feels right just talking into a blank screen. But anyway, we're always really appreciative of the opportunity to kind of speak to you about how important it is to be ready at the cottage. We've had an incredible partnership with FOCA for a number of years, and we really value it. And it's been amazing kind of what we've seen over the last number of years, the understanding and the awareness about how important AEDs are and being prepared. So for those of you who we haven't met, we hope this presentation is valuable. And we're always here afterwards to follow up with any other questions one-on-one. So as most of you saw and you signed up for this, the focus of the presentation is really just emergency readiness and in cottage communities. And I think this speaks volumes when you think about how isolated most of us are when we're enjoying time at the cottage. So we really do need to think about these things before emergencies happen. And let's just... and most of the things that we're going to be talking about today are going to be first aid related situations where minutes really matter and almost seconds matter. So whether it's a serious bleed, using an AED, a potential heart attack. So that's the focus of today's presentation. And I'll just do a quick introduction about myself. So my name is Deb Hennig, and I'm the president of Action First Aid. Been in this business for 28 years. I was formerly a teacher, high school teacher, but have been teaching first aid, CPR, and AED training for over 28 years. Our business also sells AEDs across the country. So we're a national AED distributor. We distribute a number of different AEDs. So we're very, very familiar with all the different types of AEDs. And there's not always only one perfect AED. So that's something we absolutely like to speak to people individually about, because it really does matter what features are important to you. So that's something that we take great pride in. We're not trying to be just an AED superstore. We really do want to service you well from start to finish. And then we're also the company that's been bringing and really spearheading the move to bring AEDs outside into safe stations, making them more accessible 24/7. So the presentation is going to cover all three of those things: training, AEDs, and the opportunity to bring an AED outside. Just a couple bullets here. So again, we're going to try and cover just the importance of knowing when and how to effectively call 911. Understanding ahead of time where is your closest AED, along with having an AED, it's really making sure you feel confident to use it. And then at the end, we're just going to cover some other life-saving first aid items. All right, so we'll start with just some super quick tips for calling 911. And the picture on the left, I think most people nowadays are even more mobiles than landlines. But again, whether it's a mobile phone or a landline phone, we strongly encourage everybody, you know, if May 24 is when you're heading up, to really just sit by your phone, talk to people in your family, and make sure that you have very, very clear instructions for when and if you'd had to call 911. So super important to understand. You know, you always need to speak super clearly. Most people are in a panic situation, and that's not the time to be trying to understand how to describe where your cottage is. Understanding where your whether it's a green or a blue sign. Most of the time it's green, but again, it could be green, it could be blue, and that's a number that you definitely should have by your phone so that everybody understands that that's what you would indicate when you call 911. And along with that property number, you really want to know what is your road name and what municipality are you in. So those are some important points. And then the other thing I'd like to encourage everybody to consider downloading is an app called What Three Words. And I will flip to the next screen. And for those of you who maybe haven't heard about it, it's a really, really interesting app. So in the top left corner, that's exactly what you would type in to download this free app. So it's just called What Three Words. And how this works is that in any given spot around the world, they have basically pinpointed, triangulated a location. And if you were in the middle of a lake, let's say, and your boat had stopped, and you really don't have an address that you could give somebody to, if you have this app downloaded, you can basically hit it and it will basically provide you with 3 words. So in the top left corner, you can see the words are filling, pave, strobe, which is an unusual one. And those are the 3 words that you would be able to communicate to 911. And that would basically help them locate you if and when you don't have an exact location that you could give them. So it's really excellent for remote locations if you're hiking on a boat, things like that. So I'd encourage you to check it out, and then obviously reach out to even your local 911 dispatch and just, you know, go over the process, just so you are familiar and see whether or not they can support that. But we're definitely aware that a lot of 911 systems do integrate that and they're aware of it. So if you did choose to say, hey, I don't know where I am, but I have the What Three Words, then that definitely helps them. All right. So before we get into talking about AEDs, which is really the focus of the presentation, it is always important that we just review with everybody that there is a big difference between somebody who's having a heart attack and somebody who's in sudden cardiac arrest who needs an AED. So on the left, this illustration basically takes us inside the body, and the heart attack is really, it's a plumbing problem. So when somebody's having a heart attack, they're still conscious, they're breathing, they're talking to us, but what's happening, it's a plumbing problem. So it's a blockage in one of the arteries within the heart. And heart damage obviously can start to set in very quickly when blood and oxygen doesn't get to that part of the heart. Symptoms for a heart attack, well, first aid, we obviously want to call 911. We really do not want to drive somebody. Sometimes at a cottage, there's some situations where you might feel you have to meet the paramedics, but generally speaking, it's always best to kind of wait, keep the person calm, get them in a semi-sitting position, loosen tight clothing, do your best to calm and reassure them. And then if they're safe to take aspirin, it's strongly recommended to have aspirin on hand. So that's ASA. And whether it's one adult dose or up to 2 to 4 tablets of the 81, you'd want to chew it and swallow it. And the next video kind of does a really good example of what aspirin actually does to help in that moment. And this is where I'm going to need Taylor.
I'm just unmuting so I'll be able to confirm that we're hearing you.
Okay. here too, if you want.
Okay.
We're seeing your faces now rather than the slide.
Okay.
So now, let's try this again.
Do you see our slide?
I see a Vimeo window. Yes. Now
Yeah.
it's full screen.
Okay, and let's hope that you can hear this. So this is basically a video. Normally in a class, we always have a prop like this, but I think for the purpose of this, we decided to show you this video. So we'll play.
We often get asked in our classes,
Yes, we're good.
What is a heart attack and why is aspirin so strongly recommended? This is a great model we use to demonstrate why. This side represents a healthy, clean artery. On the other side, we see there's narrowing of the arteries due to plaque buildup. Imagine these are coronary arteries bringing blood into our heart. When we turn this model upside down, notice how the blood is flowing nicely through the clean artery. But look what happens to the blood flowing through the clogged artery. It's getting stuck. That means this part of the heart is being starved of blood and oxygen, and the tissues will eventually die. When we tap the sides of the model, it represents aspirin in the system. Notice how the blood now becomes slippery, allowing more blood to pass through the clogged area, while at the same time minimizing the size of the clot that is building up on the other side. This will minimize heart damage while waiting for EMS to arrive. This is why giving aspirin at this moment to someone who is safe to take aspirin is strongly recommended. The recommendation is 1 adult dose of uncoated aspirin, which is 325 milligrams. It is recommended that you always have ASA in your home or have a handy pill fob, like this one, so you can have it with you at all times.
All right. Taylor, I'll let you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hooray for technical assistance.
I know, right? For young blood.
Yes.
Okay, so that's great. So
now hold on, we're back to the video image rather than the slides.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, you're in great shape.
Okay, excellent. So hopefully everybody kind of understood that. We find that's an amazing kind of tool just to really understand. So again, if you're kind of thinking whether it's home, whether it's in your hockey bag, your tennis bag, your golf bag, or at the cottage, strongly encourage everybody to go and take a look to see if you do have uncoated aspirin or ASA. And again, it's not Tylenol, it's not Advil, it's not ibuprofen. It's really important that it is ASA. And again, that would be if somebody's conscious and breathing. It's strongly recommended. But now we want to move into if somebody goes into sudden cardiac arrest. So the difference between the heart attack is the plumbing problem and sudden cardiac arrest is an electrical problem. And the most obvious sign is somebody is unresponsive, and it usually happens very, very suddenly. They may or may not have their eyes open. So I think we really have to be prepared that eyes could be open. Somebody could present agonal breathing, which is that gasping, which often can really confuse people. And often people think, oh, they're having a seizure. So we really have to be very, very prepared that if somebody is in sudden cardiac arrest and they're not responding to us, you may see that agonal breathing present itself. That does mean that they need CPR and they do need an AED. And time really is everything. The minute somebody collapses, we're going to get into this on the next slide, I think. So the minute somebody collapses, without an AED on site, survival is almost zero. Within the first 4 minutes, brain damage typically will set in at the 4-minute mark. And every minute that goes by that the heart isn't defibrillated, the chance of survival drops 10%. And so that's why we have the 10-minute window to basically step in and save a life. So the reality is at a cottage, it's almost impossible that medical help could get to us in time. And that's why I think coming together as groups of people or individual cottage owners and thinking about an AED is critically important. And then the stat at the beginning there where it says in Canada, more than 60,000 people suffer cardiac arrest. That's one person every 11 minutes, somebody's collapsing. So it is one of the number of causes of death in Canada. And in a number of cases, it's very preventable if we're prepared. So we want to cover kind of options for you at the cottage. So basically you have an option to consider one just for your own cottage, and you could put it inside the shelf at the front door, for example, or you can also bring a group of people together and you can launch a community program where you either share it and you provide access to your own cottage indoors, or you can put it outside. So there's definitely a few options. Some people too are using our crowdfunding tool to raise the money. Sometimes it's just a matter of everybody pitching in and sharing in the cost. So this is a video that I think is really inspiring. Maybe some of you already watched it, but we're going to watch this again. And this was a group of people in Muskoka that came together, and they've created an incredible neighborhood emergency response team as a result of it. So yeah.
Ever want to think about emergencies happening at the cottage, especially knowing how far away we are from medical help. Inspired by a true event, this is the story of a community that didn't wait for tragedy to strike. Instead, they came together to prepare for the unexpected, and in doing so, strengthened their sense of community, building a team of responders who are ready and willing to act. At the heart of this initiative is Mary Ann, a cottager who turned concern into action.
Last summer, my son and his family, they were camping in Algonquin Park. In the middle of one night, they heard screaming. My son jumped out, and my daughter-in-law too. They went into action, and he was unconscious. And my son called 911, and he was informed by the park warden that there was an AED in one of the buildings. So he ran out and got the AED, applied it, followed the instructions. And he said it was really quite simple to use. The instructions were very clear, and they gave the shock twice to the man, and he did start to breathe at that point. And then at about the same time, the ambulance arrived.
Like many cottage communities, Lake of Bays faces long response times. For those with heart conditions, that's a deadly delay.
Being in a remote area, there just isn't the, help nearby. And we know that our volunteer firefighters around here that are the first ones usually on the scene, it can take them a while. There's still a lot of areas here that just don't have that at all, and I don't think they've even thought about it. If an AED could make a difference, which it can, I thought, well, this is the best time to do it. When I suggested it to them in the fall, almost 100% of them said, great idea. This is something that we think we should have here. We're setting an example, I think, for a lot of other people on the lake. I think this is going to be great for our community.
She brought her neighbors together, shared life-saving information, and partnered with Action First Aid to select the right save stations.
Having that access to the AED is really important. They should really be within 4 minutes so that you can access them quickly. A lot of these things happen in the middle of the night, so you want to make sure you can get your hands on it quickly. We determined that it was probably best to locate a more permanent AED, a year-round one, at my neighbor down the road, because he's a permanent resident here, and he also has access to a backup generator in case there's a power failure, all those things you need. And then we determined that we should probably have another one. Decided it would be great if it could go on our sauna, which is right close to the laneway, easily accessible for other people, and it's a more portable one. This is something I think the timing is excellent, and it has brought us, I think, as a community much closer together.
After the installation, the neighbors came together again, this time to learn CPR and AED skills, building confidence and a shared sense of responsibility. It wasn't just about equipment, it was about confidence.
You can't just install them and not have follow-up training.
Today, this small cottage community is more connected than ever, empowered, informed, and willing to act in a life-threatening moment.
You in the Adidas hat, call 911. Calm yourself down, take a deep breath, and let's start compressing.
Press pads firmly on skin.
It gives very clear, concise instructions. He was amazed, really, at how it worked. He said, you really can't go wrong. It takes you through each step. It does what it's supposed to do, and it's not going to hurt the person. If a person does not need a shock, the AED will not administer one.
So if you put the pads on and they had just passed out, it's going to pick up a normal sinus rhythm, and it will say, No shock advised.
We already had a very close community here and helped each other out in various ways, but I think this has really brought a lot of us together. There's already a couple people I know of in along the laneway that are having some health concerns with their heart. I'm happy to say we've got about 17 families along this stretch, little laneway, and 100% of them are involved and they're all supporting it. There's many, many different age levels here, many generations. It's not just older adults that need these. It's also, it can happen with children. It can happen to anybody.
Now they are connected more than ever, and you can do the same. Start the conversation, bring your community together, and be ready to save a life. Learn more at actionfirstaid.ca.
All right. Taylor?
Love that heartbeat.
No, right?
And for those who may or may not recognize Marianne from that video, coincidentally, she is one of our wonderful FOCA board members as well.
I know, and she was amazing to work with, and we actually did a site assessment. So that is one thing that we often do as a company is some people aren't sure. So we actually, Christine and I went and walked the laneway and explored all the different ways and the options. So that's how we landed on those two spots. But yeah, and then here's just a couple quick pictures just of the shock on the dock. So I think, as Marianne mentioned at the very end, what's really incredible is not just access to the AED, but the sense of community that happens when you actually bring people together. Often it's bringing people together that sometimes have never met each other. And when you're in Cottage community, I think there's nothing better than knowing that you can count on each other in some of those life-saving moments. So we have, in terms of, facilitating and how do you go about it, as we said, we can, people can come together and use a crowdfunding tool or they can raise the money. But we also have a contest that is ending, I believe, tomorrow, Christine, or today or tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I think the 30th. Yes.
Tomorrow. Okay, perfect. So we hope that those of you who are on here that potentially haven't entered do enter. Maybe we can send the link afterwards. Make sure everybody has it, Michelle.
I'll share it in the chat and then we'll follow up with it in our post-event survey.
Perfect. Okay, but it's basically there's going to be one lucky Cottage community winner, and it's a super, super easy way to enter. You didn't have to do much, but just enter your name and where you're located and the reason that you're interested in this. And someone's going to win a $4,000 value, which basically is going to give them an outdoor save station cabinet that's fully ventilated and heated. And then it's also going to provide you with an AED. So we've had incredible responses, but there's still time. So hopefully everybody else on this call will choose to enter as well. If you're looking at just indoor bundles, we just wanted to start to give you just a little bit of a ballpark about pricing. And we always think it's best to call us afterwards because we have special FOCA pricing, so you can't check out with these prices online. You'd have to call us either way. We always want to kind of make sure that you are choosing the right AED. We do have other AEDs, but these are two that we feel really good about bringing into the Cottage community. One of them is a Philips on-site. Regular MSRP is $18.49, and we have special pricing for FOCA at $15.49. And then the second one is the CR2 Wi-Fi. And again, you can see the list price. It's a little bit more expensive device, but it has some extra features. So those are things that we can talk to you about when you call in and explain what the difference is and why there is a difference in price point. And then all of our package include that AED response kit, which has scissors and gloves and razors. It also, you get a credit towards a group training session. And then we also have a free CPR and 60 online learning program that comes with either of those bundles. And then we also do have access usually to previously owned AEDs, which have never been used. They get fully refurbished. So there's a brand new set of pads and batteries. All units always check themselves daily. Well, these two do. And so you can be 100% assured that it's still incredible value. So if price is an option and you want to look at a previously owned, then we're happy to chat with you about that as well. And then for the outdoor options, just so that everybody has a bit of an idea of pricing, there's an example of an outdoor cabinet. again, there's a different range in pricing. The one thing you can't do is you can't put an AED outside almost anywhere in Canada without a proper ventilated and heated cabinet. So you have to think about putting an AED in a car window, just like a dog. It gets super, super hot. So you always need ventilation if you're going to put a cabinet and an AED outside. The AED itself has to stay above 0 and below 50. So ventilation is really important. And then, of course, if it is a 4-season placement, then you definitely need the heat to kick in to also keep it warm in the winter. So these cabinets are designed to do just that. And again, there's special FOCA pricing, and there's packages that start at about $3,100 for an AED and a cabinet. All right, so I'm going to do one more video just because I know we're thinking a lot about Cottage, but this was an incredible video, an incredible group of people in Collingwood that decided to take an AED in an adult living community that was indoors. And again, they decided to just raise a little bit of money, and they put an outdoor cabinet. And again, it has created an incredible group of responders. And so I want to share this with everybody.
We're beginning to understand just how often.
Did that work?
It worked, actually.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Look at you.
Okay.
And sudden cardiac arrest strikes, not only in stadiums and on sports fields, but also in community centers, schools, offices, and other everyday places. But did you know that almost 80% of all sudden cardiac arrests happen right here at home? And when it happens, every second counts. This is the story of Silver Glen Preserve, a community that came together not after an emergency, but before.
So what we've realized is that in a best case scenario, we're likely 8 to 10 minutes away from professional help arriving on the scene. By using our own AED and our well-trained neighbors, we believe we can help each other within 3 to 4 minutes. And that's a remarkable improvement. That should save lives.
The first AED was located indoors, unable to be accessed during off hours. But the Steeles wondered if there was a better way.
What would happen if the cardiac arrest happened in somebody's home, but the AED is here at the rec center? How would we communicate? How would help come to somebody?
So this all started out by us saying to our neighbors, if your neighbor was having a medical emergency and you were aware of it, would you want to help? And virtually everyone said, yes, I would.
When it was received by the board, we found excuses to say no. We thought that the weather would impact on its function. We were worried that it would be stolen. And it was at that time we found out that there was a way, there was new equipment being sold that allowed it to be installed outside. We changed our mind and we agreed to purchase the equipment to install it outside and give everybody 24-hour access to the AED.
With the AED now placed in an outdoor weather-controlled save station, the community now had 24/7 access to this life-saving device. But that's when Jim and Diane took the next step, educating the community on how to perform CPR and use an AED and how to respond in the event of an emergency.
And we proposed the idea of communicating with one another and developing a cardiac emergency response team.
Well, Jim and Diane Steele, they launched the program and made everybody aware of it. I did come to the first training session that they had here. I think when things like, there's an incident in the neighborhood, people do want to help, and having the training, they're much more comfortable stepping forward. Everybody wants to help, we just don't always know how to do it.
With many in the community now trained in CPR, 24/7 access to an outdoor AED, and an emergency response plan in place, Silver Glen Preserve is now a cardiac safe community.
I think it's really brought people together. I mean, we all want to be able to help each other. It also is very reassuring to know that if there is an incident in the neighborhood, that we can do something about it.
It would be a dream of ours if other communities would see this and try to model it. We really feel it's successful, and we really hope word spreads, because we think this has been a missing part of it, is to get action into people's homes if they need it.
With the vast majority of cardiac arrests happening at home and a survival rate of only 10%, We need more communities like Silver Glen Preserve, a community that came together, not after an emergency, but before, to protect one another. So join the Save Station Neighborhood program today. Bring a life-saving AED outside and create your own group of empowered community responders ready and willing to act.
There's that heartbeat again.
There's that heartbeat again. Yeah, maybe before I just jump into the last little section here, I think it's important they reference the training, but we're not doing, I mean, we can do certification, right? That our business does this every day, but I think it's so important that people realize that in 20 minutes, anybody can learn how to do CPR and how to use an AED. So you do not need to be certified to feel confident to step in and use an AED. And you're also 100% protected under the Good Samaritans Act. And there's an additional act as well that protects people. So on a rainy day, CPR in 60. So we've also got another program because we know not everybody can come in person or pull together a neighborhood group. So we have designed a CPR in 60 program. It's a 1 hour learn CPR. And we'll share this as well with you, Michelle, to get out to your group. But it's basically 50% off this particular program. Yeah.
Thanks,
All
Deb.
right. Okay, excellent. And then a few other just important first aid items that we're going to encourage you to think about. And then we're going to leave some time for questions here. So things like obviously first aid kits is a good time to go and make sure that your first aid kit is fully stocked. Stop the bleed kit. So those are special kits that would have just immediate items if you were dealing with a serious bleed. And I think that's one thing we realize when you're doing training. And if there's a serious bleed, you really, now's not the time to be opening up the kit and trying to find the really absorbent bandage that you'd need, or a tourniquet in the event that it was a serious bleed and it was life-threatening. So a stop the bleed kit is a small little kit that we strongly recommend just having as its own kit that you could grab in the case of a life-threatening bleed. LifeVac is a choking alternative device. This is, we always want to be really careful with this device. We do distribute it, but you always want to start with traditional choking maneuvers. So in any training, we've got some great free videos that choking, you'd always want to start with back blows and abdominal thrusts, and you'd continue to do that until either the object comes out. If they did go unresponsive and after you've called 911, if you still can't get it out, that would be when a choking device such as the LifeVac would be appropriate. And be very, very careful. LifeVac is a brand, and there's knockoff products that look exactly like a LifeVac, and their ability to have adequate suction there isn't. So be very, very careful. We do sell the LifeVac, and it's super important that you get the right name brand if you're going to consider that for a cottage. EpiPens, people can now buy EpiPens just to have in the event of an anaphylactic reaction. Narcan, naloxone, and tick kits. So those are other items that you may want to consider. And then there's just an image of thinking about, making sure you have things on your boat. We do have some special bundled pricing. If it's something you're looking to get a whole bunch of items together, you'll want to check that out. And I think I'm going to leave this video for now because I definitely want to make sure that we have enough time for questions. So Michelle, I'll pause there, and
I'm going to rejoin you here. Let me just see if I can change our view so we can see the variety of us together.
Okay.
There we go. That might work. So a couple of things that occurred to me as you were talking, I thought I would ask about to get us going here. One is just a comment that I know some of our members are in really remote areas that do not have 911 coverage. So just to be aware that you want to investigate for your own cottage location if you are covered by 911. If not, you will be covered by a 10-digit number to your local emergency services. And FOCA has a emergency locator template sheet that we've posted on our emergency preparedness webpage, and we'll put a link to that in the post-event follow-up too. So you can just print this sheet off and customize it, get the answers like in an emergency, call this, not 911 or whatever. So just for those who don't get that coverage. You mentioned the Good Samaritans Act, and I wondered if you could just explain a little bit to people what that is.
All right. So that act has been in place for years, and it's a provincial act. So it's different from province to province across Canada and even the States. But generally speaking, it kind of protects people the same way. And that is that it clearly states that if you step in an emergency and you provide care to the best of your ability, you're 100% protected. There's a few kind of, notes to it. And that is that, as long as you have not done anything that's beyond what would be considered reasonable. So an example that always comes up is somebody's choking and you're going to try and poke a hole in someone's throat, like something very, very obscure. I mean, extreme. So the Good Samaritans Act is saying, you step in, you do the best you can based on your ability, and that it's reasonable care and that you're protected. So, yeah. And I think the other thing I'm going to mention is there's probably a lot of people on this call that potentially, you may be a nurse, you may be a doctor, you may be a firefighter, whether you're working or you're retired, and nobody is expecting you when you're off duty to respond at the same level because you don't have your same equipment. You're not expecting it. So you are covered under the Good Samaritans Act in that moment when you're off duty and you're just stepping in to help.
That's really good to know. One of the videos mentioned that someone had a concern that an outdoor station might be a target of theft. And I know I've heard that from others in the past. So I wondered, could you address how often do these things actually go walking?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's the first question everybody asks. And it's everyone's number one concern. And I think we're going to continue to answer this question for the next 20 years. But so fortunately, so when we first brought this into Canada, it was about 10 years ago, we started to study outdoor technology. And we had noticed it over in Europe. So they have had outdoor access to AEDs in Europe for over 20 years. And they are everywhere. It's unbelievable where they place these cabinets. We did our research. We found it over there. The theft and vandalism was incredibly low. So we kind of confidently said, okay, let's try it here. And we have found the same statistics. So right now, the percentage of theft of the ones we've probably placed about 2,000 so far in North America.
Wow.
And it's about 1%. So yes, they can be stolen, but there is technology. When you put them in places that are more public than even like a cottage neighborhood, there are cabinets that that basically the minute that they get open, there's a picture that can be taken of the person, and then people get alerted to their phone and the alarm goes off. So having that extra little bit of security is usually enough of a deterrent. And in the event that someone takes it, there's a picture that's taken. So there are ways to mitigate that depending on the location.
Not as much as we might imagine of an issue.
Yeah.
So I think this probably did get addressed during your talk, but I just, we had a question about, are these outdoor cabinets appropriate for use in Canadian winters?
Yes, they are. In the first place, we're based out of Barrie, so we tested it first in Barrie, and the technology has proven to be able to withstand almost every Canadian. We've had them in northern Edmonton. There's one that's being placed in the Yukon right now, but even with the wind chill, they've been fine. And the nice thing too is that in the event that it got too cold, it's actually assessing the monitored ones are telling us the temperature of the cabinet. So that's another feature. It can let us know if it's getting too hot or too cold by just sending us a message.
Wow. So that suggests that that's an area that you would have some sort of Wi-Fi or hookup of some sort.
Yeah. So generally speaking, we would find most of the cabinets that people would put on a home, like we have one on the side of our home, and then on the side of a cottage or a boathouse or something like that. A lot of people will just simply choose to do a ventilated and heated cabinet because they're not worried about theft. But if you're worried about theft, or you always want to know that AED is present and functioning, you can have the additional feature is the monitoring. And that would then let you know if if there's anything that you need to worry about. Otherwise, people that come and go from their cottage, and they can look at it all the time, and the cabinet will flash if there's something wrong, even without the monitoring. But yes, if you choose a monitor cabinet, then it's based on an IoT or a cellular system.
Okay. And so then the power is the other piece that's important if you're doing the outdoor safe station, that you want it to make noise if it opens or so, that sort of thing, that requires power hookup too.
Correct. So power, you'd need power for any outdoor placement when you need ventilation and heating.
Got it. Okay, and then we have someone who has shared their personal save story. Dan says, I survived a sudden cardiac arrest at home in 2013 and now own a Philips Heart Start. The AED is 11 years old, regular pad and battery replacement. What is the normal lifetime of an AED, assuming pads and batteries are replaced on schedule?
Ah, that's a good one.
Congratulations, Dan.
Yeah, that's amazing. So the Philips device, we have Philips devices that we're still supporting, and they're 20 years old. Now, because AEDs are they started about 20 years ago, most of the time people are going to recommend at about the 10-year mark is when you want to start thinking about a replacement. But each manufacturer has a different warranty. So
well, I was just noticing this. Christine has added in to the chat to at least Dan and those of us who are panelists here. The particular warranty in that case is 8 years, and you generally recommend 10 to 12 year cycle. So there you go.
Yeah. But again, we wouldn't say that in that particular, you said it's 11 years old. In that particular case, you don't need to replace that. You replace the pads and batteries in that particular one, pads every 2 years, battery 4. And then the most important thing with every AED is that you're checking it. So at least once a month. We have a system that's free, and it allows people to check the AED once a month and just remind you. But the AED will give you a symbol, a ready for rescue symbol. So again, it's really, really important to know which AED you have and that you're checking it at least once a month. And the AEDs will tell you whether or not there is an issue. So that would be something, as the AED gets older, that becomes more and more important.
Oh, that's really good to know. And so when you say you're checking it, that's not like checking the batteries on a smoke detector. You don't actually trigger it, but you'll get some sort of visual signal.
Yeah, that's right. And I wish I had an AED here in front of me. There's again, we have a page on our website that shows every single AED. And in the top right corner or the bottom left, you're either going to see a green check mark or a green flashing light. And that's called the ready for rescue symbol. So and I think it's super important. Anybody on this call, if you have an AED, there are so many facilities and places where people forget the pads and batteries have to be replaced. So it's critically important that you always ensure your AED is ready for rescue.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I wondered if you would talk a little more about how the crowdsourcing piece would work if a group like a lake association decided that they wanted to, go in together to purchase a few of these units. How does that function?
Okay, let me see if I can I share my screen?
You should be able to if you want to bring a browser up.
Let's see. Okay. Okay.
I see tech support has arrived.
Okay. Yep. And I think I've got, okay, just wait, Taylor. I go here. Share. Chrome?
Yep.
Crowd. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this can you see this now, Michelle?
I sure can. Thank you.
Yeah, so this crowdfunding tool, it's available just crowdfunding.savestation.ca. And then what you'll see here is, start a campaign. Oh, wait, no, contribute. I'll show you some that are there. So basically, anybody can go, and it's like a GoFundMe page. So anybody can go and start a campaign. We can help you out with it if you want. And I'll just show you an example of one. Well, this girl actually just used the crowdfunding tool. She lost her dad at 20. She's 21 years old, and she lost her dad. And so she wanted to use the crowdfunding tool to donate an AED in memory of her dad. And it just got placed in Stouffville a few weeks ago. We had
wonderful.
a really special ribbon cutting. So basically she told the story. She explained, what she's trying to do, was able to give updates, and then everybody stepped in and chipped in some money. And then as soon as she had enough, she was able to place this outdoor free, fully monitor cabinet in Stouffville. So that's how it would work for
That's
a
a
group
great
of
story.
cottagers too.
Super. I've just shared the link to the crowdfunding that you mentioned into the chat, and we'll make sure we circulate that after the event too.
Okay.
Super.
Excellent.
Now I do see somebody has their hand up. We're not able to unmute you, Robert. If you have a comment or a question, and Megan as well, and I think Anne earlier was in a similar situation. If you are able to click on your screen and find the chat box, we do encourage you to try to put your question into the chat. And if anyone else has any additional questions, we do encourage you to pop those into the chat as well. We're doing very well for time, and I've got only a couple of minutes of wrap up at the end. So Deb, what would you recommend as a first step if I'm a Lake Association representative and I'm on this call today and I'm learning about most of this for the first time? What's my next move?
All right. I would say your next move is to just reach out to us. Christine Drury's email sheet right here. I don't know if you can see this. Probably not.
No.
Okay. So let's just get her.
Do you want me to pop her email into the chat?
Let's see. Here we go. I think if I put that on there. So Christine at actionfirstaid.ca,
yes.
and she can answer all of your questions, whether they're AED related, if they're outdoor related, any product related question. And I think that's the easiest spot to start. You obviously can go on our website, actionfirstaid.ca, and there's different pages on there. There's a ton of videos.
Oh my goodness, they sure are.
A neighborhood page, but I think usually a conversation is the best way to start, and we can find out what you're, and even if you're just beginning this journey of trying to think about it, then we're here to start answering some questions. One thing we always want to make sure people realize is that an AED cannot hurt anybody. So a lot of people do have fears. AEDs are intended for public. We have them in almost every single school. So you can imagine anybody, any, kindergarten student could go into a school right now and open up the cabinet. So, you have to be really assured that it's not going to hurt anybody. It will only shock somebody who absolutely needs it. And you cannot make somebody worse. So.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. I just want to put in a little pitch for that CPR in 60 course. I did the course. Thank you for suggesting it for me. And it was very informative, and I learned a lot. And I would recommend it to any of our members. I thank you for offering the 50% discount. So we'll make sure we let people know how to access that as well.
Excellent. And if there's time for a 90-second last thing, Michelle, if there's no other questions, I'd love to share with everybody on this call. This is an initiative. And again, this goes beyond just the cottage, but I think everybody on this call has, whether it's children or grandchildren, and people are in sports. And this story is really special to me just because our very first save from an outdoor safe station was a 12-year-old girl. So a lot of people don't realize that this can happen to anybody at any time, any place. And it's one of the number one causes of death of student athletes. And the girl that was saved narrates this video, and it also will tell you a story about an initiative that we're starting to launch in Canada. So I will play it and hope that the sound works.
We're good.
Great saves don't happen by chance. They take preparation and practice.
Responding! Charlie, go call 911. Tell them we have someone unresponsive. Kara, go get the AED. You know where it is.
Saves like this don't happen by chance either. It takes practice and preparation. This is my story. I'm alive today because there's access to an AED and people who responded quickly to save my life. We need 100% of sports fields with access to an AED within 100 seconds, and 100% of coaches and athletes trained. Join the mission.
Wow, that's really powerful.
Mhm.
I'm glad that we had time to get that in there.
Show that, yeah. So if anybody's interested in even learning a little bit about that too, please reach out to us.
Fantastic. Well, as we're getting close toward the end of our time, I might ask my friend Deanna if she would be prepared to share slides for us again. So as Deb mentioned, there is this contest. If you have a phone that you want to take a snap of the QR code, you can do that here. And the link is also going to be in your follow-up materials. It is a $4,000 value package, and we're very thankful to Action First Aid for making such a generous offer for FOCA members. It's going to close at the end of tomorrow, so get your ballots in. Next slide, please. So if you found today's webinar useful, we really do hope that will sign up for FOCA e-News so you can hear about our other upcoming events and access things like our next webinar will be on passing the cottage to the next generation and how to avoid the tax. So we've got always something on the go. If you're on the FOCA website, you just click the news subscribe button there and you can get on the e-news list for year-round updates about cottage country topics. And if you know a lake or road association, or if your own lake or road association is not yet part of FOCA, please tell them about us and why they should be. And if you feel you've gotten some good free information today, please consider making a donation to support FOCA's ongoing work. We have a category called Friends of FOCA. You can become an annual supporter or just make a one-time donation. We appreciate that. As we exit today, you will hopefully be taken directly to a quick survey to give us your impressions about the event and help us plan for the next one. And then tomorrow you will receive an email with all these details and the recording link and the contact information so you can get in touch with the great folks at Action First Aid. Please tell a friend about what you learned today and consider sharing the slides and the resources that will follow with everybody at your lake association. It's such an important topic. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. We really appreciate your input. And with that, I will end our webinar. Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day.
Excellent. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for coming, everybody.